blood on the kitchen knife told a story that would forever change two families in Perth, Western Australia. But on that September evening in 2023, as neighbors heard screams echoing through the Place Street apartment complex in Joondalup, no one could have imagined the complex web of love, violence, and desperation that had led to this moment. It was 9 p.m. on September 28, 2023, when the silence of a typical Thursday evening was shattered. A woman's voice, desperate and piercing, called out for help. The sound carried through the walls of the apartment complex, reaching neighbors who would later become key witnesses to a tragedy that had been building for months. In apartment 15, James Sheehy, a 31-year-old rigger who worked the demanding fly-in, fly-out schedule of Western Australia's mining industry, was on the phone with a friend. It was a routine conversation, until it wasn't. The friend on the other end could hear shouting in the background, a woman's voice demanding to know who James was speaking to. Expletives filled the air. Then, abruptly, the line went dead. Within minutes, paramedics would race up the stairs to find James Sheehy dying from a single stab wound to the chest. Despite their desperate efforts, he would be pronounced dead at the scene. The blood-stained knife that ended his life had already been hidden in the apartment's toilet block. The woman who'd been shouting in the background? 27-year-old Lauren Vivian Brown, James's girlfriend, and the mother of his unborn child. Lauren Brown's life had been marked by struggle from an early age. She had left home at just 14, becoming pregnant at 16, eventually working as an escort to survive. James Sheehy lived in a different world entirely, built around the rhythm of Western Australia's mining boom. 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, flying to remote work sites with pockets full of money. When their paths crossed in early 2023, something clicked. Within 3 weeks of meeting, James made Lauren an offer that would change both their lives. $1,000 a week to quit her job and move in with him. For Lauren, it represented a chance at a different kind of life. For James, it was perhaps an opportunity to build something real. What started as a hopeful arrangement slowly began to deteriorate. James's brother Alex would later describe watching his brother's relationship with growing concern. Alex had already lost one brother when he took his own life years ago, and watching James navigate what appeared to be an increasingly volatile relationship filled him with dread. Witnesses would later testify that Lauren could be verbally and physically abusive during their 5-month relationship. There was an incident where she allegedly kicked a hole in a door to get to James during a fight. The pattern was becoming clear to those around them. By September 2023, Lauren was pregnant with James's child, but rather than bringing them together, the pregnancy seemed to amplify everything that was already going wrong between them. The events of September 28th began like many others, with an argument. James was on the phone with a friend when Lauren's jealousy flared up once again. Who was he talking to? Why was he on the phone instead of paying attention to her? The friend on the other end could hear the argument escalating. Lauren's voice grew louder, more demanding. The expletives started flying. Then the line went dead. According to the prosecution, Lauren used pepper spray on James during the argument. The chemical weapon would have left James temporarily blinded and struggling to breathe. It was while James was in this vulnerable state that Lauren picked up a kitchen knife. One can only imagine James's final moments. The burning sensation of the pepper spray, the confusion of the escalating argument, and then the sharp, sudden pain of the blade entering his chest. The stab wound was precise and devastating, a single thrust that would prove fatal. What Lauren did next tells its own story. Instead of immediately calling for help, she hid the blood-stained knife in the apartment's toilet block. Instead of calling emergency services, Lauren called her mother and cousin, claiming James had stabbed himself. CCTV footage captured Lauren running downstairs after the incident. When she finally attempted to call for help, she misdialed a non-emergency number. It was ultimately a neighbor who made the call that brought paramedics to the scene. By the time emergency services arrived, James Sheehy was beyond saving. The 31-year-old rigger died in his own apartment from a knife wound inflicted by the woman carrying his child. Forensic police descended on the apartment complex the morning after James's death. Lauren's story about James stabbing himself quickly fell apart under investigation. On September 30th, 2023, she appeared in Perth Magistrates Court, charged with murder, remanded in custody without bail. When the case came to trial in the Supreme Court of Western Australia in early 2025, the prosecution, led by Michael Kwiatkowski, painted Lauren as the aggressor. They presented evidence of her prior violent behavior, including witness testimony about her abuse during their relationship. The prosecution's case was strengthened by evidence from James's final phone call. His friend's testimony about hearing Lauren shouting, demanding to know who James was speaking to, followed by the abrupt end to the call, provided a damning timeline. Lauren's defense team argued she had acted in self-defense, claiming James had attacked her while she was pregnant. They highlighted her troubled background and vulnerability as a pregnant woman defending herself against a violent partner. But the jury had to weigh these competing narratives against the physical evidence. The use of pepper spray followed by a knife attack suggested premeditation that was difficult to reconcile with pure self-defense. The hiding of the murder weapon and false story told to family members raised further questions. The jury found Lauren guilty of manslaughter rather than murder, acknowledging that while she had caused James's death, the circumstances didn't support a murder conviction. The verdict suggested the jury found some merit in her self-defense claims, while recognizing her response had been excessive. On May 16, 2025, Justice Joseph McGrath sentenced Lauren to 5 years and 5 months in prison. The judge acknowledged she had been defending herself, but ruled her use of a knife was excessive and unreasonable, describing it as unnecessary and disproportionate. The sentence was backdated to account for time already served. Justice McGrath noted that both parties had been shouting and abusive, but Lauren's actions had left their unborn son fatherless. The ruling acknowledged her remorse and prospects for rehabilitation, making her eligible for parole. The case represents more than just another crime statistic. It's a story about two people whose lives intersected in ways that would prove tragic for both. James, who offered financial security and emotional support, died at the hands of the woman he was trying to help. Lauren, who had struggled since childhood, now faced years in prison, knowing her child would grow up aware she had killed his father. James's death represents the loss of potential, the father he would never be, the brother Alex would never see again, the future cut short by a moment of violence. His final phone call serves as a haunting reminder of how quickly lives can change forever. Lauren's conviction reflects the jury's recognition that the situation was complex, but also acknowledges her response crossed the line from self-defense into criminal behavior. Her child will grow up with the burden of knowing his mother killed his father. The tragedy serves as a stark reminder of the deadly potential when domestic conflicts escalate without intervention. Two lives were forever changed in those crucial minutes. One ended, another derailed by choices made in anger and desperation. The blood-stained knife hidden in the toilet block, the CCTV footage of Lauren running from the scene, the abrupt end to James's final phone call. These details remain as evidence of a night when love turned to violence, when a relationship meant to provide stability became the source of ultimate destruction. In the quiet aftermath, questions remain. Could this tragedy have been prevented? Were there warning signs that were missed? The case offers no easy answers, but serves as a sobering reminder of the human cost when domestic conflicts spiral beyond control. In a Joondalup apartment complex, two families were forever changed by events that unfolded in minutes, leaving behind a legacy of grief, regret, and a child who will grow up with questions that may never be fully answered.